Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Let's Talk About It. Today I sat down with Vanessa McAvoy. She is from Miramichi, New Brunswick, and this episode is full of some amazing words of wisdom and some life lessons along the way of Vanessa's journey to becoming sober. So today we're talking about being sober curious, what that means, Vanessa's experience with becoming sober about a year and a half ago, and her choices for doing such a thing, and what that has laid out in her entrepreneurial journey and how she lives her life today. So, without further ado, I won't get into too much detail and ruin the rest of the episode. So many words of wisdom were said today. And if you are someone who is sober curious, as I am, Vanessa's journey and her experience and what she has to say is really inspirational and definitely worth a listen. I'm really excited about this conversation today because I also have so many questions for you. I find you to be such an inspiration in terms of like how you live your life and the changes that you've made. And I know that you've touched on that a little bit before too, about like the onset of the pandemic and the changes that you ended up making in your career as well. So that'll be cool. But most importantly, we are going to talk about sobriety and your journey with that too, because I'm definitely sober curious and it's something that I've been interested in a while. So yeah, this conversation is going to be really interesting. So welcome.
Yay. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Oh my gosh.
And where are you right now?
I am living in Costa Rica. So I'm in a little town called Jaco, just about an hour and a half ish, depending on traffic, crazy mountain traffic, from San Jose.
Amazing. And
Mhm.
you just got down there not all that long ago, right?
Yeah, about a month and a half. So really just settling into the Pura Vida lifestyle and getting in the swing of things of slowing down.
I love that. So you're going to be there for 6 months?
uh, Coming back to Canada the 1st of April. So yeah, just about 5 months, I think, 5, 6 months.
So amazing.
Mhm.
So tell us about that. Why Costa Rica? Like, where did that idea come from?
Oh my gosh, Costa Rica changed my life about 8 years ago. Actually, it's kind of funny because we're talking about sobriety and how I ended up in Costa Rica. I was drinking heavily with one of my girlfriends in Alberta when I used to live there, and she had booked a trip to Costa Rica, and I'm like, there is no way you're going there without me. Like, she showed me some pictures. I am so going. The next, I think, when I had to go back to work on Monday, I had to tell my boss, hey, I drunkenly booked a flight to Costa Rica. Can I have some time off work? And she begrudgingly said, okay, but you're not getting paid. And said, don't ever drink and book flights again because I'm not going to let you go the next time. So came down here about 8 years ago, went surfing and stayed with some really neat people from Ontario. And then I ended up at a yoga retreat actually for a few days because I was kind of like yoga curious at that point. And I just realized how unhappy I was in my everyday life back in Alberta, kind of keeping up with the Joneses and just trying to climb that corporate ladder. So I got back from about a 2 week trip to Costa Rica on Sunday, and I was away at a conference all week, just literally hating my life. And I thought at that point that was the job that I wanted, and this sales job, this corporate world, wearing your high heels and your blazer every day. I really thought that that's what my purpose was in life. And then, when I got to Costa Rica and went on this kind of self exploration, I realized just how unhappy I was and how out of touch I was. So that was Sunday when I got back to Alberta, and I lost my job on Friday. So it was
Wow.
kind of funny, when you put it out to the universe. I don't think I would have ever left that job if I hadn't been, forced out, I guess. But it was the universe answering my call. And then within 2 weeks, I was in India doing my yoga teacher training. So when I say Costa Rica changed my life, I literally mean it changed the complete path of my life. And then 2 years ago, um, with 17 people from Miramichi and Ontario and Quebec, I ran a yoga retreat here, which again, it changed the lives of 17 people. It was so amazing to see that effect kind of trickle down. So I just really wanted to get back here and get back in touch with myself, because I definitely say I lost myself over the last few years being in entrepreneurship. And kind of putting the businesses before myself and my health. So yeah, it's great to be back. This place is magical.
That's incredible. I've heard so many great things about Costa Rica before, and it's one of those places, especially because like you and I are both into yoga. We're both you actively practice and teach yoga. I
Mhm.
am also a yoga instructor, but I don't teach. um, but I think, yeah, just that yoga connection to Costa Rica is pretty strong for a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I love that you're
yeah, it
there,
is
that
great.
you're taking that plunge to do something like that.
Mhm.
Pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
yoga has definitely been a staple for us. There's a really great yoga studio in the town that we're living in.
oh,
And
cool.
I've met I'm a part of like a Medicina Mujeres. It's like medicine women group. So we do like Om chanting workshops and have, vibrational dance classes. And of course, lots of yoga classes and healing. I attend a women's healing circle weekly. So it's just been so amazing to be like immersed solely in this like self love and self devotion path, I guess. So,
I love that. That is like, I feel like the new world of healing will definitely have a very strong, like stronger than I think what it is right now. It's starting to be opened up more to that, but like the whole
mhm,
idea of the mind body connection and how our thoughts influence our physical bodies. It's pretty fascinating
mm,
stuff.
yeah, and I think like Jill, for you, like posting a lot about the gut, like the mind brain, or like sorry, the gut brain axis. I've seen you talk a lot about that. It really opened up my eyes to my own illnesses, to how I really interpret everything in my life. I internalize everything, and that subsequently caused illness within my gut. And it's fascinating that doctors don't want to talk about that. Doctors don't know how to talk about that. Years and years searching for answers, and it was right in front of me. I was causing it, right?
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that because even for me, like, I mean, I went to school for naturopathic medicine, became a naturopathic doctor, practiced for 8 years, and it still wasn't even something that it was like, yeah, the mind body connection, how like your thoughts influence how you feel, but it really didn't hit home
Mm,
how much mind body integration matters um,
mm,
until I pretty much stopped practicing.
mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
and I feel like people just love to say like mind body connection. It's a mind body connection, but like what does that actually mean
yeah.
to you? It's something different for everyone, and until you really explore that and get into it for yourself, I think it's really hard for people to understand it.
Hmm.
Because you could say it 100 times over, but if somebody doesn't actually understand how to like go within and find the connection between the two, when your mind is telling you something, but then you're feeling it in your gut or you're feeling it somewhere else, like how do we ever really know that if we're not listening? And for someone to listen to themselves, it can be really hard because our minds are so busy, and we don't often take the time to just sit and listen to the body and the mind, of course.
100%. And I think that that's like where alcohol does play a bit of a role as well. Because even for me, like I noticed that I use alcohol, like I drink when I'm happy, I drink like when I'm around people. I don't necessarily drink when I'm
Mhm,
sad, but I notice that I will grab a drink if I'm feeling particularly stressed out, right? Because it's part of that like
mhm,
nature of like that association. Um,
mm,
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people do that too because it's almost as if I don't know if you feel this way too, but it's like we're not really taught how to manage our emotions. And we've also grown up in a society where it's like we like having emotions is almost like a faux pas. So it's like
mm,
we squelch them or we hide them or we like stuff them down. I think that like the drinking culture um, does play a bit of a role into the reasons why like people our age are so strong in that drinking culture.
mm. Oh, 100%. I can
Mhm.
agree with you on that on a personal level. But, thinking about a lot of people that I know, they're struggling in other areas of their life, but they're using alcohol to cope, right? So,
Yeah.
and it's almost like we've been taught it. It's like, oh, and my parents don't drink actually, which is surprising that I was such a heavy drinker. But it's like this idea, like, oh, I had a stressful day. It's like I need a glass of wine. Oh, The kids are screaming, I need wine. It's almost like we built up this culture to like to be socially acceptable of alcohol consumption, and it's like all the shirts you see, it's like coffee, wine, repeat, stuff like that.
Sure.
So it's almost like we created it to be a normal thing that we were all using it as a coping mechanism at one point, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So actually, this is a great point in our conversation. Tell us about your journey to sobriety, what that looked like for you.
Oh gosh. Well, I've been pretty much heavily drinking since high school.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly enough, growing up in a small town, there's really not much going on. And all my friends, we all had our older sisters' fake IDs. So we could go to the bars and, we could go to the clubs if you want to say per se. Um, we could go to the liquor store. So it was really readily available for us at a very young age. And I think maybe having some, I guess, like, it's like I never felt comfortable at parties and I never felt comfortable around other people. And it was kind of strange because I'm such an extrovert. And alcohol always kind of gives you that liquid courage, or at least I thought it did. So I would use alcohol as a way to like let loose, I guess, and not worry that if people are judging me, or if someone's at the party that doesn't like me, or whatever it may be. And so I think at that point in my life I was using alcohol, and of course to be cool, because everybody was drinking and it was like, who was going to say no if all the cool people were doing it? So of course I was going to jump on that bandwagon. And I think after that it just kept evolving, in university. um, Kind of same thing, just continued those same patterns. I had moved to Halifax, so Halifax has a pretty big drinking culture, especially in university. It's like, the beer Olympics and alcohol Olympics, and it's frosh week, and then it's homecoming. So you're always at a party, and there's always alcohol involved. Back in the day, there used to be dollar drinks, and I think it was like Sunday and Wednesday night at the Dome, and it was like drinking until you literally blacked out. Like it
Mhm.
didn't matter. Like that was to the extent that I was drinking. And then same thing when I moved to Alberta, actually, in my sales job. And I mean, they didn't force you to drink by any means, but you're always at hockey games and concerts, and you're out at dinners, and your clients want to have nice wine and whatnot. So maybe wasn't getting blackout drunk by any means, but definitely like over consuming alcohol on a regular basis. That's every day of the week, having a cocktail at lunch and then drinking at night. And then on top of that, going out with my friends on the weekends, or, let's say starting Thursday night. And then Stampede Week would roll around. And I can remember one year I drank 17 days straight, both with clients and with my friends. 17 days. You're in
Wow.
your early to mid 20s, and this is like now your life. It's just bizarre to me now that I think back, that I thought that this was normal. And I guess over time, my health just really started to decline with it. Um, Started having like really bad stomach pain. And I mean, like on the floor in the bathtub for hours. I think one time I was in the bathtub for 8 hours. My roommates are like rubbing my back and getting me popsicles. And then sure enough, I go to the hospital, I get a million tests done. Nothing comes up at all whatsoever. And it was like years and years of this constant like pain in my stomach, heartburn, up all night, and everybody. And at that point, it kept evolving into like, oh, it's your gallbladder. It must be your gallbladder. My mom and my sister both had their gallbladder taken out, so everyone was like, it's your gallbladder. Lo and behold, not my gallbladder. Just continuously having tests done, and nothing had come up. And years and years, like this is like, I'm talking 7 years now of getting regular tests done, scopes and whatnot. And basically, I noticed that especially after I drank, I was having these stomach pains. So yeah, that I think that was really my turning point. I'm like, hey, my health, I need to start putting my health first. Like my background is nutrition. I teach yoga, I teach spin, I'm a bar teacher, I personal trainer, you know, why am I the one telling everyone else how they should feel healthy, but I'm the one that feels like crap all the time?
Mhm.
So it was actually the night of our supposed wedding. because we had to cancel our wedding because of COVID. No, it's not a sad story. I wasn't going to tell you we broke up. Um, but yeah, it was the night we were supposed to leave for Mexico back in April 2020, April 4th, April 2nd, 2020. And we had, everyone was doing the Skype call. So everyone that was supposed to kind of go to Mexico, a bunch of us jumped on a Skype call, and Nick and I had got a bottle of tequila. And we drank the whole bottle of tequila. We had a fun night, okay? But I'm telling you, the next day, I think it was 3 days I was in bed. My stomach was so sore. I basically couldn't work for 3 days. I'm like, hey, I'm done. Like, I'm done. I literally woke up one day. I said, I can't live like this anymore. Like, and especially after you drink, you get those like blues. Like, I hate feeling unproductive. I hate feeling like this. And then it was just like a really, really bad kind of like life altering hangover that made me realize, what the heck am I doing with my life? So after that, it really evolved, I guess, why I choose to stay sober. I've learned so much more since then, I guess, because a lot of people say they can quit, but it's a lot of people want to quit and then you quit, but until you kind of find your purpose in sobriety, it's easy to go back. Right. So I found so much purpose in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can understand that, because it's so deeply ingrained in our culture. Like, you go out with your friends and it's odd if you're not having a drink, or like the whole point of going out is like for happy hour. And it definitely is a little odd. And I think for me, like, one of the biggest things that hangs over my head is the boringness, my perceived boringness of not drinking.
Right. I totally can agree with that.
Yeah.
It's strange now, because when I'm around people that are drinking, I get like they're high. Like I am like, I almost feel drunk sometimes, and I'm not joking. When I'm around like up pretty late around people that are drinking, I almost feel hungover the next day. Like I'll have like a mild headache. Like it's almost like my body is expecting me to be hungover from being hungover every Sunday for so many years. But yeah, I totally agree. Like I still want to be the life of the party. Like, I want to go out and have fun. And I feel like before I was always thinking, okay, I have to be, I'm not drunk enough. I need to get drunker. I was always playing catch up. Like I love to be the drunkest person. I don't know why, because I want to maybe be the center of attention once in a while. So now I feel like I've just shed that layer of myself where I think I'm not fun enough, and just show up to the party and be someone fun. If I'm out with my friends and everybody's drinking, well, like, we can still have conversation, we can still laugh, but at least I'm of sound mind. And I think that's one thing why I don't want to go back, is I've learned that I love to be I don't want to say in control, but I love the feeling of like knowing what I'm doing, knowing what I'm saying, knowing what I'm hearing, remembering everything. And I think that's another reason that keeps me sober. But
that makes sense.
you still get to have all the fun without the hangover. It's awesome.
So cool. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like in the beginning? Like, did you have any hiccups of being like, oh my God, like this is so boring, or I'm boring, or worrying about that in the beginning?
I would say COVID helped a lot, because at that point, like, right, it was like the week, or I guess a couple weeks after everything got shut down. So it really was just my partner and I working, and then going home at night, and just hanging out. So it wasn't that hard at the beginning. So maybe it was, COVID almost served its purpose for me in that sense, is that it helped me, because I couldn't go out and see most of my friends anyway. It helped me to get to this point. And I wouldn't say like and I don't want to like stray anyone, from this, but I wouldn't say I'm like 100%. I'm 100% sober. But like, let's say we went to a resort in Mexico, back in August or September, and like I would have like a little mini glass of champagne every day. Maybe not even every day, but like I don't feel like I would ever get to the point where I'm like drunk. So like I'd maybe have like a couple sips, but that's it. Like, and even after that, it's like I instantly don't want anymore. Like if I have like, oh, a little cheers of champagne, okay, done. I don't even want to drink the rest. but I think it's just I also really like champagne. Um, and I would say I'm sober. I'm still sober, even though, and I feel like even though I would have like a sip, but I feel like it takes off the pressure a little bit too, And I
Yeah.
think it may be a way for somebody else to go into this like sober way of living, not putting this pressure like I can never have another sip of alcohol. And I would say in the last 2 years I've maybe had, or a year and a half, I guess, maybe like, I don't know, like a half a glass of wine and maybe like, mm, no, I can't even say. Yeah, maybe I would say in total, maybe one full glass of wine in the last year and a half, all spread out in different days. So for me, that's a huge milestone, when
Yeah.
before it's like, if I didn't have a glass of wine a day, or if I didn't have a drink a day, like I wasn't myself. So I just wanted to put that out there that maybe that will help somebody reach their, what they define as sobriety. Right. Um, so
I
yeah.
like that. I like that approach too, because it's I mean, of course, like we're not talking about alcoholism here. We're talking about like choosing to be sober. Which I mean, the
Hmm.
two definitely, I think there's a little bit of overlap on these things. But at the
Hmm.
same time, like we're talking about like a certain like subset of drinking culture and habits around it. And I
Hmm.
definitely agree with you too, because that's always a big question mark as well. That um, like my friend is a sommelier, and so with her, like I developed a deep appreciation for wine and learning about wine, and I really do enjoy having a glass of wine. But it's like it's taking out that all or nothing thinking, and I love that you said that, because it's like there's no black or white in anything in life.
Hmm.
And just choosing, because I do think that there's also some serious strength in like making a choice that I am going to be sober. I'm not going to have anything to drink. But if I happen to have like half a glass of wine because I enjoy wine, like this one time when I'm out with my friends, or, I'm trying a new bottle of wine, that, you don't beat yourself up that you've failed
Hmm.
with
Yeah,
your sober
that is
journey.
that is so important, and I'm so happy you said that. Like, kind of that all or nothing thinking, and that is something that we talk about in yoga, I guess. And even nutrition, my background in nutrition, it's like, you don't want to be like all or nothing, like I'm going to hit the gym and never have anything unhealthy and only eat fruits and vegetables and all this stuff, and it doesn't work long term, right? And I'm that type of person. Like if I tell myself, okay, you're not eating any more junk food, like guess what I'm doing? I'm eating
Mhm.
junk food, right? So
Yeah.
I think I took the same approach, knowing what my personality is already like, and just said, okay, you're gonna like. I mean, I made up my mind that I was done, but if you know, kind of like you, like, okay, I have this appreciation for wine. Okay, there's this new wine out. Everybody's saying it's good. Well, I might just have like a taste of it. It's not meaning I have to go and have, I can still enjoy it like everybody else is, but I know my limit. My limit is like 2 sips, right?
Hmm.
So I think that is such a great way to look at it. It's like not all or nothing. There has to be like a gray area. And I think it's important for people to discover that for themselves, if they're ready to make that journey.
Absolutely. And I will say too that, because one of the other things too that really bothers me, like where I get my irritation from when it comes to like the reducing the alcohol consumption or like cutting it off completely, is
Mhm.
my mistrust in myself, that like I can't just have like, you know, one beer or whatever, like a smaller portion, where it's like, no, it's like I'm going to want to go back to having more, like to my standard of, when I'm out with my friends, that I'm going to have more than that. And I found it really interesting, like even for me, when I did 10 days a couple months ago, just chose to just try for 10 days and see what it was like for me. And I noticed I didn't it's like it cut down the intake that I was having so much, because it was like my body didn't want to have that much. So it's like
Mhm.
your body slowly starts acclimating to be more okay with just having a little bit, as opposed to like this huge quantity as
Mhm.
well, which is a godsend.
Yeah. Right? It's so
Yeah.
funny. I feel like if I had like one, like, I can't drink beer, but if I had like one cooler, like I would be a train wreck. Like I really do think that, like, because who knows like what my intolerance is like, and I think I had a decent tolerance before, and you're usually proud of how much you can drink,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I can slam 6 beers and like barely have a buzz. Which is like my partner. And I think that was always a struggle because he's a bigger, taller man, and he could drink 30 beer and like he's still sober.
Right.
So sometimes I was trying to play catch up with him and try to stay up to his level, and it just didn't end so well for me.
Yeah.
So but yeah. So
I can understand that too. It's there's like this, it's like a competition kind of
mm,
starts happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And it's
Um,
crazy, like having so many younger employees, I guess, in our businesses. There's a lot of teenagers that work with us, and they're all talking about getting drunk and which grad party they're going to, and blah blah blah. And they're like, "Oh man, like this guy drank like a quart of rum and shoved this pint and did this," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" It's just like my history repeating itself, like
yeah.
And obviously, like I'm not their parents, and we have good, like I have a good relationship with everyone we work or that works with us, and it's like, you guys, like that's some pretty heavy drinking. Like you guys don't want to end up like me and like, have to quit drinking in your 30s. It's going to kill you. But I don't want I don't want them to end up like me. And I know I'm laughing because for the majority, like teenage life is revolved around parties and drinking, and it's now their reality as much as it was my reality, 20 years ago. So it's like, it's sad to see it, because they could be doing so much more with their lives,
Yeah.
and it's taking away from their abilities and their confidence, and it's taking away from their experiences. And yeah, and I do see that with my own life, how it did hold me back. The alcohol did hold me back in many ways. So yeah, like I joke with them, but whenever I say like, you guys should watch your drinking, like I mean it. I really hope that the times that I'm sharing my experiences with people, that they understand that your life is can be better without alcohol, can be just as great without alcohol, if not better. Mhm.
Yeah. How about you share with us a little bit about what has changed since you stopped drinking?
it's it's pretty wild, actually. It kind of makes me a little emotional because a lot has changed. It's given me a new lease on my life, and looking back at how much I consumed over the years and the reasons why I was doing it, it's really eye opening for me. And now that I have so much more mental clarity that came from I guess the reduction and elimination of alcohol, is that I'm really much more of like a sound mind. Like my focus is on myself and my goals and what do I want to accomplish in this life, as opposed to like, oh, it's Thursday night, we drinking, we getting crunk tonight, it's Thirsty Thursdays. And then guess what? I'm going to be hungover Friday. But the only way to feel better sometimes is hair of the dog. So then you're drinking all day Friday. So yeah, it's definitely put me in a better position with my mental health. And I never really struggled like severely with mental health, but it's just like overall made me feel better about my life, about myself, and about my relationships. I think one of my favorite things that it's done is actually help the relationship with myself and my partner, with Nick. And it's not, we've always had this great relationship, but it's like when we were drinking, it's like it turns you into someone different, and I find when I guess like when Nick's drinking, he gets a little more grumpier or something. And then when I'm drinking, I'm a little more saucier. So it's like it never ends well, if there's like one thing bothering you, like there's no holds back when you're drinking. You're gonna say it, right? As opposed to like having a normal conversation about it and working through it and having communication. So I think that's probably one of my favorite things, is that it's actually just brought us closer, and it's made us talk through our issues sober. It's
Mm.
made us talk through our issues like when they arise, instead of like holding on to them and then like waiting until you're drunk to like express it. So I would definitely say that's probably one of the best things, is that's really helped relationships and friendships along the way.
Mm.
My other favorite thing is I save so much money. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how much alcohol was emptying the old pocketbook.
Mm.
And, if there's two of us, because now that I don't drink, my partner doesn't really drink either, because he sees the same benefits as me. And it was never a big concerned for him because he never really could get drunk because it took him so much, and he never got hungover, and it didn't give him the same after effects as me. Um, but now that he's not drinking, he feels the same way, I guess. And I won't speak for him, but you go out for dinner and you each get like 2 drinks, so that's like $40 if you go out a couple times a week or a couple times a month. Like it really adds up. So now I'm like, I don't want to start drinking again because like, and I'm not like a super cheap person, but I'm like, I don't want to spend the money on it. Like, and alcohol it's just like getting more expensive,
Yeah.
the cost of it. Back in the day, you could get drunk, you and your girlfriend split a pint of vodka for $10 and everyone was like having a grand old time. So that's another reason why I don't want to go back to go back to drinking. And then of course, just like the ability to get up in the morning and not have to worry about feeling that way, about thinking, like, okay, what did I do last night? What did I say? Where did I end up? Why,
Yeah.
why am I sleeping on the bathroom floor? And it's like this fog over my life for like so long. So it's just so nice to wake up every single day, like, okay, I'm up. Like the day can get started right away. What can I do? And I think it's helped me to grow myself as an entrepreneur. It's helped me venture into new businesses. It's helped me connect with more people and meet like-minded people, I guess, too. So like so many things. Oh my gosh, the list could go on and on. But and I think if somebody is sober curious, then maybe they make a list of like what they want it to help, or like where they see it, because it's not just the fact of like getting drunk. There's so many other levels, like whether that's like relationship, financial, um, behavior, mental health. So I think it's important to know how you want that to help you, and then you'll start to see the benefits of it too.
Yeah, like having that good enough why as to like why
Mm,
it's so important for you, like why it matters, and even why you
mm.
drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I never knew why until I stopped drinking. Like now looking back, I was like, wow, I never realized like I was actually pretty insecure for somebody who I feel like always puts themselves out there, and I don't mind being in front of people, but I think I was really insecure, and I used alcohol to make that go away, right?
Mhm.
But I found it within myself now. Like my mind is so much more powerful that I don't need the alcohol to make me feel wanted or loved, or belonged, or sorry, like feel like I belong, sorry.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that makes sense to me because I even find too like just the few times that I've been around you that um like that is something for me where I find, especially in social settings, that I drank because I'm insecure. And
mm,
it's definitely noteworthy that you have a presence about you, like even like being sober, that is magnetic, and it's like, oh, what's like like you're noticed in a room, right? And it's like it wasn't the alcohol that was making you that way. You were already that way, it's just you didn't realize. So
mm,
it's really fascinating just to be around someone too like you who has taken that journey of choosing to be sober, and then just seeing what that looks like when you're in a social
mm,
setting and how that person shows up.
mm. I
Mm.
think having like a great support system too, like when I first decided, my friends were like, "Oh, Vanessa, like you're telling me you're not gonna have a drink." I'm like, "No, I'm not having a drink, you guys. Like I've decided, like I don't want to drink anymore. You guys know how it makes me feel." So I think just having the conversation with the people in your circle, and it's funny because at first I had to keep being like, "I am not pregnant," because
Yeah.
that's the first thing people allude to. I'm like,
Yeah.
"I'm not pregnant," and I literally was just telling people I have a bad gallbladder. I was like, what am I going to tell people?
Mm.
You know? So it's so funny thinking about the times like going to the bar and stuff with our friends, and like the waitress like, oh, do you want something to drink? I'm like, oh, I'll just have like a soda water. I'm like, but I'm not pregnant. I just have a bad gallbladder. Like,
Yeah.
just trying to make up any excuse. But now it's like, if I go, they're like, oh, you want soda water with lime, or you want a virgin cocktail, whatever. And it's like, people just now know that I don't drink. It's really awesome. And I think, you know, having something in your hand is almost like a security blanket. And I actually used to be a tobacco reduction counselor in one of my other jobs as a
Wow.
health counselor.
Mm.
But it's funny because even when you quit smoking, it's like people just want to have that, like something in their hand. So we used to give people like stress balls. So it's like keeps your mind occupied. And I think for myself, just coming to a party or going to a social setting, like fully loaded with ammunition, like I'm not bringing a case of beer. I got my kombucha, I got my soda waters, maybe a diet pop or something, or like a pop if you're feeling like you want some energy or something with caffeine. So I always just like have my treat bag of like alternatives, I guess. And even, just the other day went down to a friend's place and I packed my kombucha and everybody else, was drinking wine and drinking beer, but I didn't feel like I was missing out. I had my kombucha in a wine glass with ice cubes and, we're sitting out on the patio watching the sunset. And like, I didn't at all even think I didn't belong or I didn't fit in because I wasn't drinking. Like I felt just like everybody else. So I think being prepared, because not everybody's going to understand why you want to be sober or why you want to reduce your alcohol intake. And it's not up to them to decide that. So a lot of people are going to want to push it on you because it's almost like not normal that you're not drinking. So people are always like, oh no, have a beer, have a beer, have a beer. Oh no, it's okay. I have my kombucha or I have, some soda water. It's all good. I brought something. So I think for me, having that foundation, having that talk or that discussion with your friends or your immediate family, like, hey, listen, like, yeah, I'm just not drinking anymore. But then have your backup. Like, don't go anywhere unless you have backup. There's so many good, non-alcoholic beers, and you can't even tell. Like, if you're worried about people judging you, which you shouldn't be, because I think like sober is like the new cool. At least I tell myself that. But there's so much out there. There's actually a really great product, a friend of mine that I used to work with in Alberta, and same thing, same sales job, like same drinking all day, every day. She actually founded a company called Sobriety, and it's an elixir, and the base of it is like apple cider vinegar, and it's got like reishi mushrooms and all these different like holistic tinctures, lavender, chamomile, lemon, and it kind of tastes like alcohol, but you put it in like any mixed drink. So the couple that I've had were like a zest flavor, so it'd be good to make like a screwdriver with or something like that. And I've brought those to parties a number of times, and like have had my friends like make cocktails with them, and like everyone's like, oh, this is actually really good. I'm like, I know, and it actually is good for you. So it's like good for your liver, it's good for your gallbladder, it's good for your stomach, and you don't like, it's like the opposite of alcohol, right? So it's so neat when you actually become sober curious, and then you see how many awesome products there are out there that kind of replace alcohol, and for a fraction of the cost, which also I love.
Yeah, right. What was the name of that one again that you said?
It's called Soul Brew, and they're based out of Saskatchewan. So whenever I used to have a plant-based restaurant, whenever I used to have that one, we actually sold her product, and it was awesome. When I'm explaining to people about the product, and she's sober as well, kind of same journey that I went on, and she talks openly about it. And just seeing the people like, oh yeah, I'm like actually trying to quit drinking, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize how many other people were feeling the same way I did, because I really felt like I was almost alone on this journey.
Mm. Yeah, I noticed the non-alcoholic beverage movement is definitely much more noticeable now than I think it ever has been. Like even the other day in Montreal, the little grocery store that's around the corner from me, they sell non-alcoholic spirits there too, like non-alcoholic gin, and I've never seen that before. So it's like, it's amazing to see this new world opening up, these sober drinks you can have.
Yeah, I think I've seen those, and they have like elderflower ones. They have like orange blossom. I've definitely seen those before. Yeah, it's just so awesome. It's a whole new world out there for sober curious people. I love it. I love it, and it's really evolved. Like really, just in the past year and a half, I would say.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the pandemic really put a lot of things into perspective for a lot of people. Especially like when it comes to like drinking and the reasons why we drink. And
And I found at the first of the pandemic, everyone was, especially in New Brunswick, where we were really locked down for months. It was almost like, oh, gotta go to the liquor store. It was like the only place open. It was like the only place you could go. And people were drinking like excessively at home by themselves, like drinking on Skype. And yeah, it was just like, whoa, people, and it was kind of, and not trying to judge anyone, because I was trying to go on a different path, and then seeing everybody else drinking, I'm like, hey, like, everybody, are they having more fun than I'm having because they're at home drinking?
Mm.
Um, so had to have a few conversations with myself, and, just realign my intentions and my why, touch base with your why.
Yeah. It was like every day was St. Patrick's Day for a lot of people.
Which is my favorite holiday. I definitely could say that would be one holiday. I would be green,
Yeah.
very green.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Gosh.
I wanted to ask you some questions about like during the pandemic and the entrepreneurial journey that you've taken, because you're a bit of a serial entrepreneur, and it's kind of cool to see your glass half full optimism during the
Mm,
pandemic, especially in a time when I feel like a lot of people were like, oh my God, like, I don't, like, the world is ending. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my career.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Can you talk a bit about that? I want to hear about some of the things, like the
oh my
experience you
gosh.
had.
I just can't even believe it happened, really.
Yeah.
I think, the very first thing that happened was that we had to cancel our wedding. So I think it was March 17th. Actually, that was, yeah, no, sorry. Wedding was second thing. So March 17th, we had to close at that point, we just had a yoga studio. And then we had our plant-based restaurant, Dory Yard Co. And so we had to close the yoga studio, and then we had to shut down like in dining type um, service for the restaurant. So overnight, honestly, I jumped on my computer. I made like, I shifted everything to an online like ordering platform, because it was sink or swim. It was like, okay, well, if we have one business shut down and we have no means of paying the bills there, and I think that was kind of the scariest part. It's like, okay, we've built this facility, we've built this community for people, and if we don't put some effort into it, like, it's not gonna make it out on the other side, right?
Mhm.
So we really had to focus on how we could grow in other ways. So we went directly online, and everything was like pre-order for the restaurant. And then we started doing online yoga classes as well, to keep our community together, and I- and I mean, the community, even just beyond the people that were already coming to the studio, I feel like started to reach so many more people, and help them along the way, because we know, in our own personal journey, how much of a struggle the first few months of COVID really were, not being able to see your friends, not being able to see your families. A lot of people, it's like their safety net is to go to school or to go to their jobs, because, oftentimes not everybody's household is a loving, nurturing space to be. So we were just trying to offer that from the yoga studio as their online platform. And then with the restaurant, switching everything again to an online platform so people would order. We made it mostly like pre-made meals, so you could order, your meals for the week. We take all the orders all day, and then we would deliver them in between 4 and 5. So that was just myself and my fiance doing that. So it was fun. It actually turned out really well. It allowed us to see a niche. And
Yeah.
then directly after that, within a couple of days, then we found out that we had to cancel our wedding in Mexico, which was so hard. It was so hard. You dream about this like fairy tale wedding. And I can just remember being on the bathroom floor, like bawling my eyes out, like so hard, because I really thought that. And yeah, it's kind of funny, because now it's like looking back, I'm like, oh, now we have this opportunity to like do it again. And I think at that point, things were so stressed.
Yeah.
Anyway, that we kind of got a new chance at our wedding, and so always trying to see, and I got another wedding dress since then too. So I'm like, well, since I already had one dress, now I have time to like look and get a second
I
one.
love that.
So we just won't tell Nick that. But anyway, so that was a good part. And I think, just we were just trying to look at all the positives that came from COVID. And I think we realized how much of a need in our area that there was for like takeout and delivery services, because really there was nothing.
Mm.
So a friend of mine I knew from the yoga studio, we weren't using the restaurant at night. at nighttime. So her and I had talked. I'm like, oh, like it's like why like we should do something at night. Like nothing that space is completely free. We're really not there in the evenings. And on the weekends we're only open till like 2 o'clock. On Saturdays we're closed on Sundays. So we had this idea, and she's actually a Red Seal chef, um, to open up Petrillo's, which is a wood fire pizza oven shop, I guess.
Amazing.
And it just exploded. It was so busy. We launched it, I think, in June, and it just went through the roof. We could barely keep up most nights, and then we partnered with the brewery, so now we're um, delivering pizzas over there. And then since we sold Dooryard, or our plant-based shop, we moved the pizza shop into just a seasonal
Okay.
location at Richie's Wharf. So if anyone remembers, she's listening, it's at Richie's Wharf. So we just had our first season there. We transitioned in July, and then oh my gosh, just a lot. And then we opened on we did that. Oh my god, you want me to elaborate on everything? Because it's a little crazy.
Yeah, keep going. Whatever
Um,
you want to talk about.
okay.
I'm like so fascinated with like how you made this all work.
I sometimes don't remember or like even have a clue how it all came to fruition, but we just wanted to keep growing. Like we couldn't do anything else because it was COVID, but the one thing that we could do was like open businesses.
Mhm.
So we had found out about a location up for lease. So that's where we got my sister involved, and we opened our first sit down restaurant,
Mm.
which let me tell you has probably been our hardest venture because there's so many moving pieces with having like a bar and front end staff and back end staff and hostesses and dishwashers, and then like revamping the patio. So that's probably been one of the hardest business ventures. Rewarding, yes, of course, it's been rewarding. So we moved in there, would be like last January. And so we've been almost a year at that location. It's awesome. And we are set up for online delivery and takeout as well. So you could dine in, or it's delivery and takeout. And then we partnered with another local entrepreneur, and we opened up a donut shop, donut and milkshake, Pookie's Donut and Milkshake, at the same
Right.
wharf
Yeah.
where the pizza shop is. So again, it's like, you travel and you see like, oh, well, this city has like donuts, and then they also have a milkshake shop. And we're like, oh, why don't we just do one together? There's nothing at Richie's Wharf right now. So we did like ice cream, milkshakes, donuts. We had an amazing summer down there with the pizza shop and the donut shop. And we're super looking forward to coming back in I guess in 2022 to do the same thing for the summer.
Yeah.
And then since kind of this is all unfolding, I guess um, when we reopened the yoga studio after COVID, it was really hard to get people into the space. I think people were nervous, people weren't sure, people like, at that point nobody was vaccinated and what have you. So we were really struggling with that studio particularly. So we decided to add some spin bikes. I had been spinning at home for like 2 years before that, Peloton and all the other apps, just trying them all out. So we're like, okay, let's add spin bikes. And then it just got super busy. And then, we saw a demand. We looked at a couple other cities and a little nearby towns and saw a perfect location in Bathurst. It's just about 45 minutes north of us. So we opened one up there. That was in March of 2021. So we opened Sailor and Jane February 2021, so just this year. Then March 2021, we opened up a spin studio, Spin North, in Bathurst, and that's been open almost for a year as well. And it's going so well up there. We have such amazing teachers. We have amazing students. It's really like a vibrant community. And then right before we came to Costa Rica, we opened up another location in Tracadie. So it's again about 45 minutes an hour away from Miramichi, further
Okay.
east, sorry. And same thing, like we just luck in with finding like the most amazing people to keep these businesses running. To me, those are not like, it's about the community, right? It's about getting people to feel good and coming into the space and having that sense of belonging.
Mhm.
So, and then that was in September, we opened that one, and then we came to Costa Rica. Sorry, that was in October. We opened that one, 1st of October. Then we came to Costa Rica end of October. So we had only really been at that location for like 3 weeks, and then the girls just took right over, and they are like fearless leaders at that location, and we're so blessed. We're so lucky to have such an amazing network of people that are on our side and all rooting for the same things. Like, we want to better our communities. We want to help the lives of the people that we serve. So, and then lastly, since we've been here, we, because I'm always thinking and I have such a clear mind now. And yeah, I'm like, hey, well, Sailor and Jane, like, it's kind of slow season right now. It'll get busier like around Christmas, and then it'll get slow again in January. That's just kind of the ups and downs of owning a sit down restaurant. And I knew that going in there. So we decided, okay, let's try another takeout option. So we added Ray's ridiculous burgers and hot dogs. So it's kind of, your typical, against my will, I should say, because I always like to serve like healthy food. People are like, you sell donuts and milkshakes and burgers and pizzas.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even know who I am anymore. I lost myself. But I will say our pizza is freaking amazing. We make the dough fresh. We mix it up, and it's like super, super fresh ingredients. We make our own sauce, we grate our own cheese. All of our ingredients are as fresh as we can find.
That's amazing.
So I'm super aligned with that business as well. So this one, Ray's, which is my dad's name, and yeah, it's like double stacked burgers and poutines and like all this yummy food. So with the help of my sister, of course, so she's still at that location, we set that up just on DoorDash and skip the dishes. So surprisingly, it was actually pretty easy to set up another business remotely. Obviously, with my sister being there, but we did all the back work, the menu designing, the social media, set it up on the platforms, got in contact with all the right people. Yeah, so it's I don't even know how many businesses we set up in this past year, but yeah, it's I don't even know. I really don't know. All I know is that the people that we have in our network and the people that we've partnered with have really made like, and I say like my dreams come true, but I hope it's their dream as well. And I do believe that. So it's like we meet these people, and it's like we have an instant like, hey, like, do you guys want to do this? Like, do you think this is a good idea? So we do have two businesses that we have partners in, and the pizza shop. I'm the sole owner of it now because my friend and my ex-business partner moved to Newfoundland, and I miss her dearly. And I would partner with her again 100 times over if she would move back. So yeah, lots of different businesses, and crazy enough, like last night and the night before, we spent all night looking for more commercial space, and when we get back in April, like how we can grow and what other businesses we want to launch, and because why not, right? Like, we have the time and we have the drive to do it, and we see the need. And I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing with us. We live in a small place where when I moved back 6 years ago, it was like, there's nothing to do here.
Mhm.
That's all I ever heard. There's nowhere to eat. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. It's, again, all there is for people to do is drink.
Yeah.
And one of our locations, we do sell alcohol. I will say that. But it's not our main focus. Obviously, the food and just the camaraderie.
Mhm.
And our patio has a beautiful view of the river. So I think that was like really my goal when I first got back. It was like, well, if there's nothing to do here, I'm gonna make sure there's something to do, because I don't want to live in a town where I have nothing to do and nowhere to go and no way of meeting new people.
Yeah.
So I guess
Like,
gotta,
yeah, I love that you had done everything that you had done, and I think that's what's so cool is that it's like you're in a small community. You created something like that you saw need for, but also that other people were wanting, and I think that increases the desire for people our age to live in more rural communities when there are things for us to do. Yeah, which I absolutely love that you like took the plunge just to do it, because like I even have on my phone right now a little quote, and it says, "What's stopping you?" And to me, it's like you're like the epiphany of not being stopped. Like
wow.
you do what you see is like in alignment with you, what you see a need for, and it's actually really incredible, like to watch you do what you've been
Yeah.
doing.
I think it was like, finding the self confidence, and I think I think alcohol was holding me back for such a long
Yeah.
time too, because it's like I was always using alcohol to gain confidence, in social settings, in social situations, or it was like a banquet or whatever it might be, a wedding. Like I always alluded that alcohol gave me this like false sense of confidence. Now
Mm.
looking back, it was a false sense of confidence. So it's so crazy how alcohol has really, when you say how it's changed my life, like I do contribute living this sober life to have given me and gifted me these opportunities, because now I can focus. And Sundays I get so much work done, and not I am a bit of a workaholic, hence why I've found myself in Costa Rica to unwind a little bit. But it's it's like I never had that sense of clarity in so many years, and now that I have it, I'm like, oh, I can do so many things. I have so much energy, and I just see things in a different light now, and I have the confidence. And I think and yoga has contributed that as well. It's just like just to
Hmm.
trust your journey. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? My
Hmm.
mom will take me back in. Like if I lose it all, I'll go
Yeah.
live at my parents' house again. Um, but I don't want to live my life looking back thinking like, oh, I should have done that. I wish I'd done that. Because what's the one thing when they ask like, you know, people on their deathbed, it's like I wish I had done what I wanted to do. I wish I had have, whatever it may be. And I that always resonates with me. It's like, hey, looking back, like I want to accomplish and I want to reach my goals and see myself to its full potential. I think for many years, like I limited my potential. Like I didn't think that I was worthy of more. I didn't think that I was worthy of being, I guess, a successful entrepreneur. Like you have this idea in your head of who that should be and what they should look like. And I felt for so many years, like I never felt fit that mold. And now I feel like I'm just creating a new mold. Okay, this is me. This is my life. Um, People are always going to judge me and say like, okay, like it's enough. Like, don't you think you open enough businesses? Well, maybe that's your judgment, but for me,
Yeah.
like, I want to keep going and fulfilling and creating. And I think creating these businesses has been one of the biggest outlets for me. And some people use alcohol as an outlet, and for me, like creating is is healing. Creating is so healing. Mm.
Yeah, it's like I find alcohol is a great way to keep us on the proverbial hamster wheel. And it's like you got off of that and then
Mm.
found a new outlet to like occupy your time with, and it's very cool to
Mm.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, on that note, we're nearing almost an hour of a conversation.
Mm.
um,
Wow. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I know, right? It went by really quickly. Is there anything, any thought, any final thoughts, anything that you want to leave off on?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think, because this was really focused on like a sober topic, um, it's like just no pressure, right? And I think and everything we do in our lives, like we always feel like we have to be the best at it. Um, Kind of going back to that, like black or white. It's like, you could try it for a day. You could try it for 2 days, and see how you can just continue to evolve and make it a part of your lifestyle. And don't be afraid of like other people's judgments,
Mm.
and work on yourself. Start to find confidence in yourself to be in these settings, and social anxiety is like a real thing,
Mhm.
that so many of us experience. Talk about it, have those important conversations like, hey, I struggle when I go to a party that like I don't feel wanted, or I feel like I don't fit in, or I feel like I'm not heard. You would be surprised at how many people are likely struggling with the same thing. So, you know, it's just one, multidisciplinary, I guess. Like there's so many ways to look at living a sober life and to just explore all the options. There's certainly a way. There's certainly a way.
Yeah, and that way isn't the same for everyone either. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, taking the time and being patient with yourself to find a way that it works for you if that's something that is a desire yours to
mm,
have. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So thank you so much. That was super insightful. I gained a lot of a lot of words of wisdom from that.
Mm.
And I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Oh, it's been such an honor to be on here. It was
Yeah.
honestly my dream. I'd never been on a podcast.
Oh,
And
amazing.
I've been like dreaming of being on a podcast. So I am so thankful. Yay.
Yeah, no, that was incredible. We'll have you on again soon. I feel like there's lots more things that we could talk about.
Awesome. Thank you so
Cool.
much, Jill.
Thank you. And there you have it. Such an amazing episode. So many words of wisdom that I took away from this, and I hope that you did too. As always, please don't forget to like this episode, subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and please share this episode with anyone who you feel like could benefit from the message of this episode. Thank you.